Hello, lovers. Brenda Gabriel here, self-proclaimed fame PR queen and fairy god sister for entrepreneurs, influencers, and anyone ready to own their star power. Today, we're going to be diving into the PR disaster that is the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni saga. What's happening behind the scenes? Who's playing their PR cards right? And who's bluffing with a bad hand? I'm going to be breaking it down with 7 crisis commandments that you need to know because no one is immune to a little public mess every now and then. So, whether you're a business owner, influencer, or just love a bit of celebrity drama, this one is for you. Grab your tea, wine, kombucha, whatever it is that you're drinking, and let's go. And of course, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, because as always, I say you're a celebrity. Think like a star because you are one. Okay, so little disclaimer here. This is not legal advice. I'm just here to share my professional PR perspective, some opinions, and hopefully give you a few lessons that you can take with you. Because whether you realize it or not, you are a celebrity. Yes, you. You influence people around you. And if you ever end up in a crisis, you're going to want to think like one. Oh my God. Can you believe what is going on with the Lively Reynolds Baldoni mess? This situation is giving reality TV drama, and I am here for it. I'm here for it. Are you here for it? Honestly, there's part of me that feels like the ancestors are actually getting their revenge for that plantation wedding. That's a joke. Okay, sort of. Today, we're not diving into the legal side of things because I'm not a legal expert. I am a publicist. And so I want to focus on the PR side of things. I want to focus on what this PR crisis can teach you about protecting and managing your personal brand. Stick around because this is a PR masterclass in session and it has just a little twist of chaos. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, people. And if you enjoy dissecting the messes of the rich and famous like I do, also, if you haven't seen my video on Aaron Pierre, please go and check that out right now. Well, after you've watched this video, for now. So, my crisis PR commandments, I have come up with 7 crisis PR commandments that I believe both Lively and Baldoni should really take heed of. So, well, let's get going. So, this is my crisis commandments, the Lively versus Baldoni edition. Thou shalt not play both David and Goliath. What do I mean by that? Blake Lively is the bigger star of the two of them. Many of you guys who are watching this now probably have no clue or had no clue who Justin Baldoni was prior to the Blake Lively saga. I did know who he was because I'd been introduced to Jane the Virgin. So that's where I saw him. He was the lead love interest in that, or one of the lead love interests in that. So I knew about him and I thought, oh, he's kind of hot and whatever. Didn't really know anything much else about him, but I knew him from that. So, but Blake Lively has a massive profile, and obviously she came to fame with the smash hit Gossip Girl, right? So everyone, and then she's married to Ryan Reynolds, and then there might have been a little bit of hoo-ha over when she got with Ryan Reynolds because he was married to Scarlett Johansson first, right? So she is the much bigger star. And one of the things that I feel about this is that you can't play the poor innocent victim while flexing your power like a boss. There are several things in this scenario that demonstrate that Blake Lively, and I just need to make a disclaimer here, right? What I'm saying here does not mean or does not negate or does not take away from the fact that the allegations that Blake has made may have happened, right? I wasn't there. So I'm not saying by any stretch of the imagination that what she's alleging against Justin Baldoni never happened. But what I'm saying is when we're talking about from a PR angle and we are talking about our personal brand and what we're putting out there, she is looking like the one in power because of all of the things that happened with the film, right? Like if you look at the fact that I only discovered today, like, were you guys aware that I only discovered today that Justin Baldoni's Wayfair production company is the one that has funded the entire film, right? So in essence, he is paying Blake Lively's $3 million $3 million fee for appearing in the film. And he is obviously the director. He is the one who bought the rights from Colleen Hoover, for the book 5 years ago. This is a project that was 5 years in the making. We'll come back to that. But in essence, so there's all of this stuff, and Justin is the lesser known person, and then Blake has come in as the superstar. So I didn't even realize that Blake was paid 3 million while Justin only took a fee of 320,000, I think it is, dollars for his part in the film. Obviously there may be some like reasons behind that and all the rest of it, but everyone knew that she was the big draw for the film. That's fine, right? But it was financed by Justin's company, who is the actual producer. So I don't understand, right? And I think most people are feeling this as well. How do you walk into someone else's film, take over the controls, right, and still cry victim when things get a little bit messy? And what am I talking about with regards to that? So we've seen from that 6-minute video of the two of them together, where she released it without sound and then he released it with sound. What we've seen there is that what she alleged originally was the fact that he kind of kissed her neck and he was inappropriate and all the rest of it. What we've actually seen with our own eyes is that the conversation that took place seemed to be one that was quite friendly. Again, I am not saying by any stretch of the imagination that she may not have been uncomfortable at any point during that interaction. However, it didn't look like she was particularly uncomfortable during the interaction. The conversation that they were having seemed to be free flowing and they seemed to be getting on. They even had a laugh and a joke about his nose, which myself I thought was a bit, oh, okay, that's a bit on the nose, for want of a better expression, because this is the same woman that obviously claimed that she was fat shamed. So in essence, he's supposed to have fat shamed her, but then she's gone. They had a relationship where she felt open to talk about the size of his nose and then talk about having an insurance month and basically getting surgery on his nose. So to me, and I suppose to most people watching, that appears to be somebody who's quite comfortable in the relationship that they're having with someone, certainly comfortable enough to have a joke about what's going on. And also she's comfortable enough to direct what's going on. And then in the background, we are aware of the fact that in essence, she has turned up, she has got her husband involved. She has helped with a final cut of a scene that wasn't Justin's. There are so many things that have taken place that demonstrate in many ways that she had the power. And again, I am not saying that means that detracts from anything else that may have taken place, but from a perception perspective, it does look like Blake was in control. So this whole kind of playing the Goliath, as in, we're gonna put you, we're gonna use our PR to get you in the New York Times, to get the complaint in the New York Times, and then we're gonna, launch this suit against you, and then we're gonna play victim. It kind of doesn't read well, right? Her husband Ryan was allegedly on set making script changes. She inserted her bestie songs. Taylor Swift's song was put into the film. There was talk in the Justin alleges in his paperwork that there was a time that they all attended, the house, and Taylor Swift was there. And well, we presume that the Taylor he was talking about was Taylor Swift, and Ryan Reynolds was there, and he felt like the pressure was being put upon him to make certain changes to the film. So in terms of the optics, it was really giving power couple takeover, right? Not damsel in distress. So the PR takeaway that I want you to take away from that is know your role and play it well. If you've got power in a situation, don't try to play innocent, because it's likely to backfire. And that is what we're seeing happening with Blake at the moment. And I just want to drop in a question here for you guys here, to be a bit interactive with this. When was the last time that you saw someone trying to be the underdog while holding all the power? And how did that work out for them? I want you to think about that. Drop it in the comments and let me know. PR crisis commandment number 2, thou shalt not forget what you have to lose, right? Blake has a lot riding on her reputation, fame, money, the fan loyalty, the brand deals. She's got her couple of brands, her hair care brand, is it? And then the alcohol brand and the non-alcoholic brand. There is a lot riding on deciding to go forward with this. And the truth of the matter is the bigger you are, the harder you are going to fall when things go south. Justin, on the other hand, has a lot less to lose. And he seems to have only sort of come to the forefront when he saw that, everything to do with the film, because we had this whole thing about the morality clause. I don't know if you heard about that. If you don't, go and look that up. But there was a morality clause, which again kind of makes things feel iffy, kind of going back to number one about being like the David in it, and whether there was some kind of ginnelsing going on. So there is a morality clause that was put in by Colleen Hoover, the author of the book that the film is based on. It Ends With Us. And apparently the agreement was that if anything comes up about Justin, so he was able to buy the rights to the film with the proviso that he does not, he acts in a way that's proper in the film. Obviously, something like a sexual misconduct is not in keeping with the morality clause, right? So there's going to be an issue there if he does something around that. So the fact that he's now been accused of that, to some people, may seem a little bit convenient, right? Particularly when we've got all of this stuff to sort of indicate that Ryan and Blake were trying to get in on the film, and they're possibly trying to get the rights for the next film. And Blake was, directing. I mean, even in that scene, we see that she's very comfortable directing, saying, no, let's not kiss here. We don't want to give him that. And, she seems or appears to feel very comfortable directing what's going on in the scene. So we are getting the impression of a woman who is very, is very confident and certainly knows how to put herself across. Clearly, from the messages that was sent to, or the voice note that Justin Baldoni sent, the 6-minute voice note, basically apologizing for not taking her ideas on board, etc. It's demonstrated there that she feels like she wasn't being listened to. But he then apologizes for that and says, sorry, I didn't mean to make you feel like that. I'm sorry people have behaved this way to you in the past in the industry. I don't want to be like that. I messed up. And he holds his hands up, right? So, to all intents and purposes, although there were a few, questionable things that may have been said in that voice note, again, we weren't part of it. We weren't there. We don't know what the relationship was between them. So things that may have sounded a bit weird, like the, maybe you've got a baby on your boob, a bit strange. I get to have all of Blake Lively. Obviously, to us as outsiders looking in, may have been a bit weird, but in essence, based on the relationship that they had and the fact that she was sending him a voice note or sending him a long message at 1:49 a.m. and then he's responding to her at 2 a.m., kind of suggests that they have that sort of relationship. So in terms of Justin, he did have a lot less to lose in terms of profile, right? He's got a solid reputation as a nice guy. And what's also important is that he doesn't appear to have any previous scandals, right? Nobody has come to the forefront as yet. Who knows? Somebody may be subpoenaed, but nobody has come to the forefront to say that he is a creep and this is how he's been with people behind the scenes, etc., etc., etc. And one of the people who would know him better than anybody, who'd worked with him for a long time through Jane the Virgin, Gina, oh, I've forgotten her last name, but it will come to me. But Gina, who worked with him, who was also the the lead and the one who was responsible for that, has never said anything negative about him. So when when we think about something like the whole Weinstein thing, with Weinstein, we had loads of people coming out. Once one person opened up, I don't know whether it was Rose McGowan, I can't remember, but the floodgates opened for lots of people to say, yeah, this happened to me too. We haven't seen that with Justin, so there doesn't appear to be any previous scandal, and it's feeling that there is the dynamic there is like he, that big fish, small pond, or Blake is like the big fish in a small pond with regards to that. No, sorry, Justin is the big fish in a relatively small pond in terms of Blake is a big fish in a big pond in essence, with the whole Ryan being married to Ryan Reynolds, etc. But for Justin, he is a big fish in a relatively small pond, right? So he's a big deal in the with the audiences that know him, but not generally. So what I believe is that Blake's side totally underestimated that coming for someone with a clean track record is risky. It is risky, right? And that's what happened. Audiences generally across the board when it comes to PR, we love an underdog, and we love an underdog with receipts. An underdog with receipts. Baldoni brought the receipts, right? So when Blake put out her video, Baldoni came back with a video with the audio, which then allows you, you know, regardless of what it may have looked like or what he said on there or how silly he may have looked with it, you know, or people may be judging him, the fact remains that he brought receipts, and he, you know, he could say, no, this proves my point of view. And again, he did the same thing with the 6-minute voice note, right? He's brought the receipts. Whereas, you know, with Blake only releasing the version without the audio, that kind of is giving like, I'm trying to hide something, and people don't like that, right? So the PR takeaway from this, from number 2, is just because you can make a public spectacle doesn't mean you should. You really need to think about balancing the risk with the potential reward. And the question I'd like to ask you guys here is, have you ever picked a fight halfway and then like halfway through you thought, do you know what, maybe this wasn't worth it? Because I am wondering if Blake is starting to feel like that now. So commandment number 3, my PR crisis commandment number 3 is thou shalt remember PR is a long game. It is a long game. It is not about winning the argument today. It's all about how people are going to remember you 10 years from now, right? And people have been saying stuff like, or Blake, I think it's been reported that Blake has said, you know, nothing came out about her in Gossip Girl and all the rest of it. Things have changed. Like, you know, back in Gossip Girl days, the internet was not as prevalent as it is now. So, you know, I don't doubt that a lot of stuff was buried. I mean, subsequently, we've seen stuff about Blake, and we've heard stuff about Blake that indicates that she may not have been the nicest person to work with in Gossip Girl, and that she didn't have, you know, there was some friction, or there was reportedly some friction between her and Leighton Meister. So, you know, and then there was that weird, I don't know if you've seen it, but go and check it out, that weird video where they're all being interviewed on stage about something, and Leighton Meester is sat next to her, and the guy says something about a cage, and then she says, yeah, well, one of us was born in a cage or something like that, which I thought was very strange. And the reference for that is that Leighton Meester, her mum was actually in prison, incarcerated when she was born. So the fact that Blake Lively makes a comment about that with somebody that she wasn't actually friendly with, and she goes, "Oh, I'm just joking." It's like, yeah, no, that's not cool. So yeah, so you know, PR isn't about winning the game now. It's about how people are going to remember you 10 years from now. Blake, it, to a degree, feels like she's playing short term. You know, the lawsuits, the public complaints. It's kind of giving a bit of chaos, right? Meanwhile, it does feel like Justin is playing chess, not checkers. He's keeping calm and focused on his legacy, which I believe is a really smart move. People need to remember, we all need to remember that the internet does not forget, right? The internet does not forget. And ever since we've had access to the internet, and there's evidence of, you know, of the interviews with Blake and how she's behaved with them, you know, there's the one with Kirsty Floor, you know, probably one of the worst interviews, like that was buried for ages and then came up, and I'm sure Blake didn't anticipate that that was going to come up. And it was really funny because she actually thought that Justin was putting all of this negative stuff out about her, and it turned out to be that no, there was just all of this stuff floating about on the internet, and people were doing their digging and finding out for themselves. You know, there's even content that we see, but in the messages from, you know, obviously the messages that are being sent from his PR firm, and they're talking about, oh my gosh, you know, it was kind of like something along the lines of, oh my gosh, you know, this went better than we expected, you know, people are all turning on Blake, it's basically like she's done it herself, we didn't even have to do anything, like, and yeah, that was kind of the case, because we, you know, the public will go searching for what they want to, you know, we've got Reddit sites, we've got all sorts of things, we've got blind items and all of this kind of stuff to come up. You know, the internet remains undefeated when it comes to finding out what you want to find out about someone, and it does not forget. You know, even if you try and bury something, these long gone are the days where some, you know, where news where yesterday's news is today's fish and chip paper. It doesn't quite work like that. That may be the case with legacy media and an actual physical newspaper, but when it comes to the internet, it does not forget. And in my opinion, Blake should be thinking long term and thinking about what she wants people to be saying about her when this is all over, because right now this is not looking good for Blake at all, in the slightest. And one of the things that I think particularly that isn't looking great for Blake at the moment is, is the fact that she, on the one hand, feels like she's kind of taken over and it's her and her husband and have come in and they've done the bully boy tactics, or certainly that's what it's appearance right, because when it comes to PR, in many ways, it doesn't matter what the truth is. Of course, we want authenticity and it's better to be truthful about things and honest and truthful and transparent. But in essence, what matters the most is perception, because PR is all about the relationship you have with your public, which means that it's about how you are viewed and how you are perceived, rather than what it is that you're putting out there. At the end of the day, even nowadays in particular, it is very difficult to control control what people think of you. All you can do is manage that. You cannot control what people are going to think about you. You cannot control what people are going to say about you. You cannot control what they're going to find about you on the internet. It's just, yeah. Anyway, so the PR takeaway from that is always think like your future self when you are putting yourself out there, whether you are putting yourself forward for an article, whether you are posting something on social media. How many times have we had people have to go and delete their tweets and post, previous posts that they put on social media because they did it at a time when they weren't so big, and then all of a sudden they became famous, and people are then dragging up content from 5 or 10 years ago. Do you remember, who did that happen with? Stormzy's ex-girlfriend Maya Jama. Do you remember that? And then we had Chrissy Teigen, had all those weird ones coming up when we had all the Pizzagate and everything. The internet doesn't forget. And so you just want to, when you're putting stuff out there, you have to be careful about what you're putting out there, because, what are people going to think of you several years down the line? And not only that, most importantly, what are you going to think about yourself 5 years down the line? Are you going to be able to sleep with yourself on what it is, sleep soundly knowing what you've put out there or how you've behaved is representative of who you are? I know we all grow and we all evolve and stuff, but particularly when you're dealing with a big personal brand like that, or even a small one, right? If you're just starting out, you still want to think about what things are going to look like in a few years' time. So yeah, that's what I had to say on that one. I do wonder if this is going to haunt Blake Lively down the line. I wouldn't be surprised if it does, actually. And another thing that I was thinking in terms of her reputation, at the moment, she's not looking like the most credible person at all with regards to everything. We are questioning the veracity of some of the claims, and also the motivation behind some of the claims that are being made, which is dangerous. And not only that, unfortunately, this was supposed to be her big break, her big comeback and all the rest of it. And it's been marred with all of this stuff. And now the film is now known more for, all of this commotion, rather than what the actual film was about and what it could do and how it could affect the audiences, right? Which is quite sad. So, and then the other thing is, I was thinking to myself, when I saw the video come out with Justin, I was a bit like, well, I don't really know who's going to want to work with her going forward as a love interest if she's alleging sexual assault during what appears to be a scene that, where there's loads of people around her and all the rest of it. And then there's even been people sort of coming back. And again, because people do their own research, they go and look for things, it's been said that she hasn't read the book. So, if you've not read the book, but then the actor who is playing the love interest has read the book, because, it's a project that he's had going on for 5 years. And then he goes to kiss your neck because the character in the book kisses the tattoo on the neck because he's fixated with it. Is he really being inappropriate, or is it just a case of a misunderstanding? Yeah. So, I know a lot of people are thinking about that. So, on to commandment number 4, PR crisis commandment number 4, thou shalt not underestimate the court of public opinion. I cannot impress upon you how much the court of public opinion, how important the court of public opinion is in comparison to whatever may be going on legally. And I think that Blake knows this, because I believe, in putting forward this civil complaint to start off with, that went live in the New York Times, she knew what she was doing. That is a power move. That is a big power move, because by putting out a complaint publicly in the New York Times, one of the most respected legacy publications in the world, although it's quickly losing that sort of respect as a result of what's subsequently coming out, she knew that that was going to make big waves, and people were already going to make assertions about Justin off the back of that, regardless of what happened in court, regardless of what goes on behind closed doors. The minute you have something like that go out about you in the main press, like, that is a massive black mark against your name. So yeah, I believe that was a power move. It was said by Candace Owens that that had Taylor Swift all over it. It's the kind of move that Taylor Swift would make. So it does feel, that did feel like a power move, rather than going legal and behind the scenes and trying to sort it out that way. She went public with that. So that's really interesting. So like I said, her first move was to hit the media with these allegations before the legal action was taken. But, as it turned out, the public wasn't necessarily buying it, because there was no concrete evidence. As I said earlier, there were no witnesses stepping in to say, yeah, this is definitely the case. Yes, she did have a load of people side with her, but nobody actually had anything to say. It was all very vague. The people siding with her was all very vague. Blake is honest. Blake is, Colleen Hoover, Blake was honest. Blake is a good person. Nobody should have to put up with this, blah, 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 blah. But nobody actually came out and said, I saw this with my own eyes. Yes, this is the case. No one has said that. And again, obviously I know there may be legal ramifications around that and stuff, but we are still not up to now, unless you guys are aware of that. And do let me know in the comments if you're aware of anybody who is saying, yeah, we're definitely aware that Justin is this person and this is what he was doing on set. But I've not seen anything to that effect yet. So when the audience isn't convinced, then the court of public opinion is going to eat you alive. And that is what Blake is experiencing at the moment. While Justin, on the other hand, went legal first, right? He was smart. He decided he wasn't going to start saying anything about it. He was very, very polite about Blake up until he decided to go legal. And he thought, you know what, you've gone for me, I'm going to go for you now. So what he's done is he's let the public see his side organically. He's not overselling it, and the public really appreciate honesty and not desperation. So even though there are some comments out there saying, oh gosh, like that, how creepy was that voice note that he sent, and oh gosh, like, isn't he being a bit creepy during the dancing? Like, anyone who can actually put out, like, because we all do things behind closed doors that may be misunderstood or misrepresented when it comes to light, right? But somebody who can take the actual video unedited of themselves talking, saying what they're saying, and put it out there and say that, boom, there's my evidence. And then do the same thing with the voice note that he sent apologizing to her, saying, boom, there's my evidence. It may sound a bit creepy. I may sound like a bit of a weirdo. That's giving transparency. And that's something that we're not feeling like we're getting from Blake Lively and Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, right? So yeah. So the takeaway I want you to take away from that one is that public perception can ruin you faster than the legal system ever could, right? And I think we saw this. People have compared this saga to what happened with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, and in many ways, I think that it's quite quite definitely a different dynamic there. But in some ways, there are some similarities there, and one of the biggest things is that Amber Heard has been ruined by the court of public opinion, because once we heard certain things that came from that court case, we were like, yeah, not really sure about that one. And then that's it. Like, I don't think we've really seen much or heard of her since, right? Number 5, my 5th commandment, thou shalt not forget a personal brand is for life, not just for the cameras. And this one in particular is targeted at Blake Lively. her PR issues, although she thinks that is the case, her PR issues did not start with this mess. Her old blog glorifying the antebellum South and how she kind of liked the vibes, the plantation wedding, the awkward interviews, and the mean girl energy that has been coming across is all coming back to haunt her. She did it, that song, "You Do to Yourself, You Do." Yeah, that is what I'm feeling is coming through from Blake. And they're not isolated incidents, right? It's giving mean girl, it's giving spoil, it's part of her overall brand story. And right now that story is not reading well. There was even talk about, even the way that she was promoting her drinks brand, she's saying, so yeah, I understand that Sony said, right, let's not sell the film on the domestic violence side of things. I kind of get that. I do get that. I do think that it was a misstep there, deciding not to do it. I do believe that even though the agreement was that they would keep it light and fairy, that Justin's approach to it was a much better one. And I think a lot of people took better to that than they did Blake Lively's turn up with florals, have a drink with your friends and go and have a good time at a film that was actually quite deep and could have been quite triggering for some people. That didn't really make much sense to me. So yeah, and then there's been criticism of Blake because she says she doesn't drink because she doesn't like what it does to her or how it affects her, yet she is promoting an alcohol brand during a film, promotion which deals with domestic violence, when alcohol can make domestic violence worse. It's just giving tone deaf. Yeah, giving tone deaf. Yeah, whereas Justin's brand is very clean, humble, family focused. There don't appear to be any skeletons in his closet that we are aware of. And that consistency that he has and that we see of him is why he appears to be coming out on top right now. And the PR takeaway I want you to take away from that one is to audit your brand regularly, right? Do not wait until you're knee deep in the caca before you realize that you've got skeletons to clear out. And that is one thing that I'm actually quite surprised that happened with Blake's team. The fact that there were all of these interviews out there about her, that her PR team seemed to, I don't know, that her and her PR team seemed to not be aware of, or, didn't try to go and get removed from the internet or whatever, because I know that these things can be done. Like, you can get things scrubbed from the internet. It's happened multiple times before. It happened with the stuff with the royal family. I'm trying to think of a couple of other examples where it's happened. Yeah, it's happened before. These things can be scrubbed from the internet if you really want to do that. And I'm just kind of surprised that there wasn't an awareness of that, or even if you can't scrub it from the internet, just a reference to stuff. Because I think one of the things that we don't like now in the public, we don't like it when people just kind of don't say anything. It's not, Beyonce is the queen of not saying anything. She actually leaves things to a beehive, but you kind of got to take a stance and stick with it. So Beyonce never says anything about anything. She also never complains publicly about anything either. So you never see her go out there addressing issues. The only way she's ever done that, which I thought was absolute genius, is through her songs. When she talks about, I can't remember, was it Formation? And she talks about, you're corny with this Illuminati mess, right? She drops in with that. And then when people were trying to say that her hair isn't real and it's not long and she's always wearing weaves and how she's selling whatever, and then she just does this, she does the video with her hair being done, and it's like the best clapback ever. Like, that was a brilliant clapback. And Blake may not have been able to do that, but it may have been, there could have been a way. And like, if I was a publicist, I would have found a way to kind of feed in maybe some of the accusations that had gone against me in some way, shape, or form. I would have found a way to address them, and maybe, just kind of say, I'm a jokey person, or, this is the kind of thing, or, the Kirsty Flower thing, that, this is where it came from. I might have thought about explaining that in order to improve the perception of me and show that, yeah, I'm human, sometimes I make mistakes, and this is where I'm coming from. But that wasn't what took place. So a question for you, and something that you really need to think about if you are out there on these internet streets, if someone went digging through your past tweets, blogs, or interviews, what's one thing that you'd be praying they don't find? Is there anything that you'd be praying that they don't find? Or are you clean? If not, I suggest that you go back and look through things and remove anything that is not reflective of who you are today. Because, like I said, we all evolve, we all grow. So if there is stuff out there about you that you don't want out there, then I recommend that to my clients as well. I say, look, let's do a brand audit, let's do a PR audit and a brand audit, and let's have a look at what's out there about you. And there is this phenomenal tool that you can do that with. And if you want me to let you know, just mention in the comments, and I'll drop the details of that tool that can actually go through and scour all of your past social media content and tell you things that may be messing with your reputation. It's a fantastic tool, something I use for my clients, and it's really, really helpful. Number 6, thou shalt not number 6, thou shalt not underestimate the intelligence of the public. Yeah. What I'm going to say here is that I feel like Blake's side thought that they could control the narrative. As I've said with PR, you cannot control the narrative. It's impossible to control the narrative. These days, audiences can do their own research. We all have mobile phones. We all have the internet. We all have ChatGPT. We all have Google. Like, we can go and do our own research. We are not waiting for the newspaper to come out the following day to find out what's going on. People are asking questions, and some of the questions that I've seen people asking are like, why didn't Blake use a body double for the uncomfortable scenes? She decided she didn't want to. If you were going to be if you were uncomfortable, why didn't you use a body double? It's quite common to use body doubles. She didn't have to be available for all of these scenes that she felt uncomfortable with. And again, this is not me saying that she shouldn't have been. She shouldn't play. She shouldn't play how she wants to play, that she shouldn't play the role, as she wants to play it. She shouldn't show up how she wants to and act how she wants to. But that is a question that people are asking, and it's a valid question. If you're uncomfortable, then why would you not do that? Why was Ryan on set, but he didn't step in? Like, that's one of the things that confuses me a bit. Like, Ryan was so involved and he was on set and he was checking the dailies and stuff, and his wife was uncomfortable. I'm sorry, but like, if it was my partner, I would expect, like, if it was my husband, I would expect my husband, if I tell my husband, oh, this guy's been a bit creepy, like, I don't even think I'd have to say anything other than that. Like, I'm quite sure that any husband or partner that I had would go and probably punch the person in the face to start off with, or at least drag them up and be like, listen, like, I'm gonna have your guts for garters. So, the fact that Ryan was so involved on the one hand, but then wasn't involved enough to stand up for his wife, kind of feels a little bit wavy. Again, don't know what was going on behind the scenes, don't know how it played out, don't know how early she was feeling uncomfortable versus whatever. But these are questions. And the intimacy coordinator, it was said multiple times by Blake that there was an intimacy coordinator, and there's obviously proof that the intimacy coordinator was involved from the very, very early stages of the film, to the point where Blake said, I don't need to meet her yet, which is fair enough. Some people have said, well, why didn't she meet her early enough? And it's like, well, it doesn't matter. The film hadn't started yet. Blake wasn't contractually obliged to meet up with the intimacy coordinator at that stage. That's fine. But, where did things get lost in translation there? Like, why weren't they there when they were needed? That doesn't make any sense, bearing in mind that Blake did have quite a lot of control over what's happening and when the scenes were filmed and all the rest of it. Like, why wasn't the intimacy coordinator there? There should have never been an opportunity. If you had someone hired, there should have never been an opportunity for them not to be there when required, right? So in some ways it does feel like the math is just not mathing here, right? And there's one thing that the public do not like. They do not like to be taken for an idiot. Like, generally, we don't like to be taken for idiots. So, there are just so many, like a bad straight to TV film. There are some plot holes in this story, right? Like, do you get what I'm saying? So anyway, on to the PR takeaway for this one. So the PR takeaway for that commandment is that consistency matters. if your story has plot holes, the public are guaranteed to find them, because we are not stupid, and we are now in the day and age, in the era. We are in the digital era. We can find just about anything, and then you've always got someone who's got a Reddit, a Reddit going on. And actually, I'd like to know from you, like, jump in the comments if you feel like it, right? And just let me know, is there another story that has, a celebrity story that has played out where you feel like there may have been some plot holes there? I can't think of one off the top of my head, but, like I said, this one just doesn't feel like the math is mathing in this one. And my final commandment, number 7, is thou shalt not overestimate your power to bury a scandal. Yeah. Blake's team, as far as I'm concerned, believed that they could rely on old school PR tactics in order to control the narrative, right? And it's just not possible. Like, we are now in the era of integrated PR. And what I mean by that is, PR is not just about, like, I as a publicist know, PR is not just about the newspapers. It's not just about the legacy papers. You've got to deal with bloggers now. You've got to deal with people who come up on YouTube, vloggers. There are so many things. You've got shorts, you've got blogs, you've got videos, you've got every single person who has access to a laptop and a mobile phone is a media center in this day and age, right? The mainstream media does not control the narrative anymore, and it hasn't, and it's been like that for a while now. In many instances, things go viral online first, and then it's the mainstream media that picks it up afterwards. So if anything, in many ways, the mainstream media is behind, is kind of behind the news cycle, and it picks up stuff from what's going on there. So the old-fashioned way of trying to control the narrative, planting stories, using mainstream media to make the problem disappear, not working. Like I said, era of social media, it's just not happening now. People are not buying it. You've got TikTok detectives, you've got Twitter where we're fact checking, and no amount of PR spin is going to hide any of that stuff. I believe that Justin's team didn't have to work anywhere near as hard as Blake's team, because her own narrative began unraveling once the public started investigating. And I don't think that her team considered that. And the takeaway from that, the big takeaway from that, is that you just cannot bury a scandal anymore. Like, it's just not possible. So your best bet is to get ahead of it, be transparent, hold your hand up when you need to, own your mistakes before someone else does it for you, because that's not the way you want to go down, right? So that's it. That's my 7 things. Oh my gosh, I've been on here 42 minutes. I didn't expect it to be so long. I'm gonna work on getting these shorter for you guys, but I hope you took lots of value from this. My closing thoughts on this are Blake and her team underestimated just how much the PR game has changed. You cannot rely on old school tactics when every person with a smartphone, as I said, or a laptop, is able to own their own, like, has their own media channel, right? And this is something that I talk about in my book. This is my book. So I talk about the future of PR in this book. If you've not seen it, there you are. So I talk about the future of PR, or my predictions for the future of PR in this book, which I'm so proud of. It launched last year in December on my birthday, 3rd of December. It's gorgeous, isn't it? Gorgeous. So you can get hold of that on Amazon. I'm going to link it in the comments. Sorry, not in the comments. I'm going to link it in the description. You'll be able to access it. Go and have a look. Even if you are not, I made this book so it would be pretty, right? And it is. I wanted it to be the kind of book that you would buy it because of what it looked like, and it would make a great coffee table book. And I think it does. So you might want to buy it as a present, for a birthday present for a friend, or buy it for yourself if you're an influencer, if you're doing stuff online. It's handy for for entrepreneurs, but even for influencers and people who are just but anyone who basically has a message they want to bring out to the world. It's a great book. I'm getting some really good feedback on it. I know I'm selling it now, but it really is genuinely a great book. It's something I'm very proud of. So go and look that up if you want to. For me, I honestly believe that the future of PR is about honesty, authenticity, and playing the long game. And it's just so important to be transparent. Just so important. Yeah, that we're moving into that era now. People are fed up of the, like Kendrick Lamar says, I'm so sick and tired of the Photoshop. Like we're all fed up of the Photoshop. We're not interested in having stuff curated for us anymore. We want you to give us the real and let us make the decision for, let's form our own opinion and make the decisions for ourselves. So anyway, that is it from me for today. I am looking to be back possibly in the next couple of days because I'm looking to interview someone. I've just got to finalize the bits on that. A really interesting interview from somebody who is in the film, who is studying film, and so knows quite a bit about the film industry. But yeah, so I'm going to organize that, and if that comes to fruit, then I will announce that, and that will take place, and we can have a really cool discussion. But in the meanwhile, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate this. I will be here at least once a week. Haven't decided on which day I'm doing yet, but I will be here once a week. Like, share, subscribe, check out my other video, like I said, on Aaron Pierre. And until next time, remember, your personal brand is always working. Make sure it's working for you and not against you. Bye for now.